to New York. I am so excited to be back in New York City. I lived here for 4 years and coming back here never gets any less magical. There's just such a good energy in the city and everywhere I look, there's something happening. I just get so much inspiration and creativity from being here. We're visiting in October and this is probably my favorite month to be in the city with the crisp fall weather and leaves changing in Central Park. It just truly feels like a movie. Obviously, New York is a huge literary inspiration and there are tons of books that are set here, so there was no shortage of books to choose from. But since it's fall, I really wanted to read a rom-com and there was one that was just published that I've been seeing all over social media. It is called It's Different This Time. This book is by a debut author named Joss Richard and I follow her on Instagram. She's like the cutest person ever. I actually bought this book in Arizona, so a little callback to that episode. I actually read a couple of chapters of this and then stopped because I knew that I was coming to New York and I thought that this would be the perfect book to read here. It is about a girl named June who is a struggling actress in LA. She's kind of down on her luck when she gets a call from this lawyer in New York who tells her that she needs to come to New York City immediately due to an issue with her old apartment. Turns out the owner of that apartment had passed away, and in his will it said that the brownstone should go to the last occupants of the apartment, which is technically June and her ex-roommate slash love interest named Adam. Which, side note, I literally fantasize about something like this happening to me. Basically, June and Adam have to decide what they're going to do with this brownstone, but they have 4 weeks before they can officially sell it. It's set in the fall in the West Village, so it's the perfect romantic comedy to read here in New York. And based on just the couple of chapters that I've already read, I am very excited to get back to this story. So I've only been gone about a year, but there are so many new shops and cafes that I have bookmarked to visit. So we're gonna head out into the city and do some exploring and start reading. We have had a successful day. So I have my cutie little Gilmore Girls bookmark from Book Lovers Collective. It's an Etsy shop that I'm absolutely obsessed with, like all of their cute paper goods. And I thought that this would be the perfect bookmark to choose for my fall rom-com. So we started off by going to the New York City Public Library flagship location, which has been on my bucket list since I lived in New York, but I never made it a point to go there. The architecture is just so stunning and they have a ton of cool exhibits that are constantly rotating. I did manage to get a little bit of reading done in the Rose Room, which just feels very iconic academia. Not quite the setting for a contemporary romance, but it was cool regardless. The library is located right by Bryant Park, so I was able to read a little bit more there and actually got through about 100 pages between the two stops. It is a very easy read with tons of banter. As it starts out, it's kind of obvious that June has some sort of resentment towards Adam, but it's not yet clear why. So far she's kind of a frustrating character. In contrast, Adam seems very reasonable and even-keeled, so I'm curious to see how my opinions of them change as I get into more of the history. This book is written as a dual timeline, so you kind of get a contrast of their dynamic before this event when June and Adam were living together platonically, and the after where there's a lot of unresolved tension. So far a very good start. It's definitely captured my interest and I'm excited to keep reading. I also stopped by a couple of shops and picked up some goodies. So I got a couple of new Jellycats and they had a huge selection at FAO Schwartz, so it was very hard to choose. I ended up getting the to-go latte and this little fall pumpkin. These are so adorable. I love having these just around my library at home. They are completely unnecessary, but they do make me happy. And then I went to Peak, which is like a novelty shop, in search of the fall collection of Sunny's Angels. And I did manage to get 2 of them. So I'm very excited to see which ones I got. We are hands-free now because we're gonna unbox these. Here is the selection. If I had to choose, I think that the panda is really cute and the frog. So clearly an inexperienced Sunny's Angels collector because I don't know how to open these. Oh, okay, cute. I got the jack-o'-lantern. It's technically a cat, I guess. This is so cute. Oh my god, adorable. It matches my jelly cat. Okay, off to a good start. Let's see what the next one is. Oh. Okay. Ooh, I think this is a special one. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but it's really cute. If it's supposed to like stand on the pumpkin? Okay, we have 2 new friends. Tempted to go back and get more. The other thing that I got at Peak are these cute little New York City themed stickers. One thing that I want to start doing on these trips is doing like a scrapbook, junk journal kind of thing. I just think it's a really fun way to document, and I keep collecting all of these little stickers and paper goods on my trips, so I want a place to keep them all together. There are a few cute paper goods and stationery stores in the West Village that I have bookmarked, so I think the plan for the rest of the day will be to head down to the West Village and see what I can find. Okay, we made it back to the hotel. We did accomplish our mission of getting a new journal. I just got a plain navy journal because I wanted to be able to decorate it on my own terms. There was a lot of great reading journals that had like a structured layout, but I just wanted something a little bit more custom. I also got this cute little burgundy pen loop, and I am just loving the navy and burgundy color combination lately. So I think this will be a fun little hobby to do along with my 50 states reading journey and just be able to document these trips in a non-digital way. I also stopped by one of my favorite stationery stores, Greenwich Letterpress, and I got some cute little stickers from their sticker wall. It's one of my favorite stops every time I come to the city. I also found these cute little Miffy Post-its. Necessary purchase. After we did some shopping in the West Village, I went over to Washington Square Park to read a little bit. Throughout the day, we've made it a total of about 200 pages into It's Different This Time. It is a very quick, easy read, which is great because it's kind of hard to read while you're visiting the city. There is just so much you want to see and do. It's hard to take that time to slow down and let yourself get invested into a story. So I guess you could say that is either a pro or a con of this book. I will say that we are learning a little bit more about the history between June and Adam. I'm not learning a lot about the characters themselves. Like, we have the basics down, but there's just not a ton of character depth. I would say so far it's as advertised. It is a cute, cozy fall romance. And speaking of romance, there is a bookstore in Brooklyn that exclusively sells romance books. After I got done reading in Washington Square Park, I actually took the subway over to Brooklyn to stop by a bookstore called The Ripped Bodice. They had every single variety of romance that you could think of. Everything from contemporary romance to erotica to historical romance, fantasy, romantasy. Not a single stone was left unturned. They also had a ton of cute stickers and bookmarks, and they even had an annotation station, which is something I have never seen in a bookstore. One of the other things that is really cool about The Ripped Bodice is that they host a ton of author events, and they always sell out like immediately. But I was able to get an autograph copy of the book that I picked up. It is called The Heartbreak Hotel by Ellen O'Clover. I will say I definitely picked up this book for the cover. It is adorable. But the plot also sounds very interesting. It is about a girl who is fresh off a breakup, and in order to afford her rent, she rents out rooms in her house as like a bed and breakfast. And she calls it the comeback inn because she opens it up to people who have recently gone through breakups. It also sounds like the landlord might be a potential love interest. That is a trope that I have not read before. Very excited to get into this one. Will probably be my next cozy fall read after my current one. So we have had quite the day. I'm ready to decompress and continue reading. That is my plan for the rest of the night. Hoping to get through a little bit more of this tonight because we have a big day tomorrow. Good morning. I managed to read about 60 more pages last night. I will say that one thing I'm really enjoying overall is just the fall vibe of this book. As you can tell from the cover, the author does a great job at not only painting a picture of the setting with golden trees, but also with things like coffee runs and Broadway shows and chilly nights, which are just all things that I associate with the season. Speaking of coffee runs, I have been craving a cardamom bun since I was in Copenhagen probably. So we are going to check a couple things off the list this morning and head down to La Cabra. This is one of my favorite cafes in the city and definitely one of my top pastry recommendations. It's Scandi and cozy, but it is very small, so hopefully we'll be able to snag a spot to stay and read for a bit. I was able to get through around 40 more pages at the cafe. Cardamom bun was 10 out of 10, so very happy to have that checked off the list. The book was getting a little more spicy, and I swear this only happens when I'm reading in public. The dynamic between June and Adam just gets more and more frustrating as the story goes on, because I'm just like, get together already. Since the book is written from June's point of view, we have a lot more insight into her inner thoughts and reasoning than Adam's. And I understand that this is the style that the author chose, but I would be very curious to hear from Adam's point of view, just because it seems like their intentionality is so different. There are a lot of New York City locations referenced throughout this book, so I thought it would be fun to do a little literary tour of the city. Getting ready to head out to brunch with a friend now, and the restaurant is actually located very close to 74 Perry Street, which is the address of the brownstone that June and Adam inherit in this book. There's also the bookstore that June worked at, which in the book is called Arcade Books, which is not a real place as far as I can tell, but the description does remind me a lot of one of my favorite bookstores in the West Village, which is called Three Lives & Co. So we'll definitely have to make a stop by there. June is an actress, so naturally there's a lot of references to Broadway theaters. And then there's also just iconic locations like the Plaza Hotel and Central Park. So we have quite the list of locations to see. Let's get going. It is our last day in New York City, and I feel like we've successfully checked a lot of things off the list. I had a great day doing our little literary tour yesterday, and I was able to finish up the book in the park. I'm still processing how I feel about the ending, so I'm going to sit with that a little bit longer before I give a full review. I have one final stop to make, and I was waiting for the weekend to go with my husband because it's one of our favorite spots to visit in the city. So we're going to head to Union Square, and then I'll give a full recap once we're back. Okay, we are back from the Strand, and we spent over an hour there because there's just so much to see. It's a good thing I only brought a carry-on because I could easily spend my entire year's book budget in that store. So I picked up just one book, and it's actually nonfiction, but this was recommended to me by a friend, so I thought it was a perfect opportunity to pick it up. So I've had some time to process my thoughts on our New York read. It's different this time. And as a whole, I think it was a really cozy, easy read. It was perfect for an easy read on a trip to New York when you're trying to do and see so many other things. Firstly, I think that Joss Richard is an extremely talented writer. The writing flowed very naturally. Dual timeline is sometimes a very difficult style to read, just because you're jumping around all over the place, but I think this one was executed very well. The author did a great job at blending the two timelines together to kind of show how history repeats itself. The setting was incredibly immersive, truly felt like being in a Nora Ephron movie. It is just the perfect cozy read for autumn. One thing I did not enjoy was the constant miscommunication throughout the book. It is the main source of conflict that drives the plot, but it can definitely be a bit maddening to watch it play out. June definitely has some self-esteem issues that further complicate things. And without giving too much away, I will just say that the journey seems very long-winded when compared with the outcome. I really appreciated the overall atmosphere of this book, but I did struggle with June's character. She's pretty frustrating and not always easy to root for. The plot also lost momentum here and there, and there were just a few sections that could have been more concise. Overall, I would give It's Different This Time 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend this as a cozy fall read. On a spice level, it's around a 3 out of 5, and I don't let that influence my rating, but I think it's nice to disclose. This was so fun to read in New York, and we are now 7 states into our 50 states reading tour. I have a few more adventures to squeeze in before the end of the year, so be sure to follow along. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.